You can see the screen again?
Yes.
Abba, are you sure? Okay.
Yes.
Alright. You should see now. Are you seeing now?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I can see it now.
Alright. Awesome. Now, I was talking about collecting input from user. So, if you want to collect input from user, you need a variable. Remember, that is why we started from understanding variable. So let's say you want to collect name, for example. You want users to enter their name. Okay, so you can do something like this. I'll come here and then I'll do name, and then I'll say equal to. Then I'll call the input function. Alright, I'll call the input function, and then I'll hit enter. So inside this input function is where I want to print a statement for them. Okay, so I can decide to print something for them so that they will follow that, and that is very relevant. So if you are collecting people's name, tell them to enter their name. So for example, I want them to enter their name. I'll say enter your name. Okay, like this. So you don't just say, you don't just do something like this and just what do I say? Where is this coming from? Alright, so you don't just put an input for them. You must ask them to do to enter a value. Okay, so once you say input and you enter a statement like this, it makes them understand what you want to do. So what do we want to do? We want to collect the name and then to print it after we have collected it. Alright, so enter the variable name. Okay, so we print out the name after we've collected it. So when we run this, okay, so let's see the into intro. We see the into intro like this, and then we can now run our variable. So now you can see he's asking me, the tab is not closing, the terminal is not closing. Are you seeing? The terminal is not closing. Why? Because it's a prompt. Okay, so if I now enter J or John, now let's enter John for example, and I hit enter, it will return John for me, right? So, and this, because you are able to get users information, you can perform any other operation. Let's say we want to check for their username now, and we say users should enter their name, and with their name we can print out their username for them. Okay, how do we do that? We can do something like this. I say if name, okay, so if name is equal to, remember we've done assignment operator, comparison operator. So if name is equal to let's say John. Okay, so if the value they enter is equal to John, okay, we want it to print welcome on board John. So we do print welcome on board John like this. Welcome on board like this. You can say welcome on board John. All right, so doing this, so we can even specify. Okay, here now we can even decide not to even use John. What should we use here? We can format it. How do we format it? How can I format it? Tell me. How can I format it?
Using the F function.
Okay.
F word.
Okay, so I should put the F here. What's next?
Yes, then we bracket after the welcome on bracket, like a curly bracket.
Okay, so we put a curly braces, and then we specify the variable name like this. Okay, so we don't need to explicitly declare the to put John here, but we can also use the variable. So, and when we run this code like this, okay, and we say enter your name, so now I need to add an else clause, but then let's see what happened here. So if I say John, okay, and I hit enter, you can see that it's telling me welcome on board John. So now let me put a clause here. So I'm going to put a clause, okay, and then I'll say else. All right, I'll put else keyword, okay, and then say I'm going to print you are not. I'll print the name. Okay, so I want to do something. I want to do something so that the value you enter, so I want to print something that even if you entered value, this else keyword will be able to give you what you return instead of what is expected. So I can say that, so I can create a let me call it function, okay, or I can even just do let me just do x equal to name, okay. I'll do x equal to name. No, I want to assign the value that is coming from name to x, okay. So I'll just call name. All right, so and then I'll now say that if name, okay, if name, so if I print John now, what should return? If I print John, the name will return. Okay, let me see how I can do this. Let me put the SQL word and then let's print. Sorry, let's print. Here I'll now say you are not, okay, so you are not John, like this, okay. Remember, we can still format it, where it will return the name, so we can specify the variable like this, okay, like this. So when we run this code, it should be able to tell us. So we enter, let's say this time we are not entering John again. Let's say we enter Michael. All right, let's enter Michael like this, and we hit enter. So it said you enter your name Michael, you are not Michael. Why? Because we are still using this variable. So if we now decide that the name that is coming, okay, we can have another variable, okay, that will be equal to John. So let's have another variable. I'll call this variable x, and I'll say it's equal to John, okay, it's equal to John, okay, like this. Then I'll now say that so if I now come here, I'll now change this to x. Do you understand what I just did?
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So if
you assign new variable x to John.
Yes. All right. So I can even remove this from here now and replace it with x. All right. So if name is equal to x, print welcome on board name, but else you are not x. All right. So we can now come here now and run the code again, and then we enter let's still enter Michael. Let's still enter Michael like this, and then you said Michael, you are not John, okay. Enter your name. So it's going to follow the else keyword, because the condition here says that it should be equal to John. So since it's not John, you will just, the else clause will now print you are not what? John, okay. And we can say you are not John, you are Michael. So we can return you are Michael. Inside the clause we can say you are, and then we specify that variable, okay. We specify that variable, and then here we enter the this thing, and then enter the name variable like this, okay, so that it be able to return what the user enter. All right. So when we run it like this, and we say enter your name, and we say John like this, okay, it said welcome on board John. Now let's run it and use another name. So this time we say Dami, okay, and then it said you are not Dami, you are not John, you are Dami. All right. So this is how you can use the input method. All right. With that being said, let's continue. Okay.
But please, I noted that x equals to John.
Yes.
And you said if name equals to x.
Yes.
Then I think x has become John.
Yes.
And name too is also John.
No, name is it's not John. Name is whatever the user enter.
Okay.
Yes, whatever the user enter is the name. So the user can enter Michael, Toronto, whatever. Okay. So, but for us to use in the program, we can use it anywhere else. But because we are specifically concerned about John, so there are times that you are looking for you want to compare what is in the database with what the user is entering. So you will need to understand how to project that. All right. Okay.
And what's time? Like, when do we use this F function?
The F string.
Yes, F string.
Yes, in a situation where you want to return a formatted string output for your users. Okay. So, and this is very very vital because you cannot tell your user that what's it called, you cannot just print something. So like I was just typing before and now say you are not John. No, instead of that, specify. Okay. And this is very critical even when you are displaying your error. Okay. So when you are displaying your error, it is very very critical that you display just what the error is. Okay. So when we get to error handling, I will explain more of that. So when you use format string is where you want the user to understand what they are encountering. All right. So instead of you to say you enter this, it is not correct, just say this is not a valid input. What you entered is instead of your username. So you are expecting them to enter their username, but they are entering their email. Okay. So in such a situation, you can tell them that you can throw an exception that what is needed here is not your email but your username. That way you send a communication. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Now let's continue. So we have been able to explain using input function to get user input. All right. So, and there are so many things you can even specify. There are times that you can specify the type of data you want from the user. So take for example, you want to get users information. Let's say you want to get users you want users to enter their age, for example, and age has to be an integer. Now and I will also use this opportunity to explain to you that when you are getting details from users, please always know that you cannot you must format, you must collect everything from users in small letter. All right. So we want to get users detail. Okay. We want to get users detail, for example. Okay, so let's say we say imp x, and then we say equal to, and here we say input. Okay, input. Now before this input, we can specify the type of data type that we want. Okay, so if we want to collect what's it called, string, for example, or integer. Okay, we've done with a string. So let's say you are collecting integer, so we can call the int method and then wrap it inside the input method. Okay, like this. Oh, get away, Joe, get away. Okay, we say input, and then here, and then we say enter your age, for example. Say enter your age. Okay, your age, and then we close the bracket like this. Okay, so this says that the user must not enter any other data type apart from an integer data type. So, and when we try to print, for example, okay, we print x like this, and then we run it. Okay, we run it like this. It's going to say enter your age. So instead of entering your age, I'll enter a letter now, say John. Okay, look at what it's telling me. I'm going to have a value error. Why? Because what is needed is base 10. Okay, integer is saying invalid literal for int with base 10, but I'm entering John. All right. So now let me also use this opportunity to also explain how to use your traceback error to understand your code. How do you do it? Now look at this place very carefully. So if I now come here and now look at this error, the first thing you must know, you must read your error from bottom up. All right, so it should be from bottom up, not top to bottom like this. So you read from what? Bottom up. So the first thing we see here is the type of error. Remember, when I started showing you this type of error. So there is value error, there is syntax error, and there is a name error, and there are other error we'll encounter as we go on. All right, so pay attention to the type of error you are having. So this value error is because you are entering a value that is not needed. Syntax error is you are writing a line of code that your syntax is not correct, what you are using is not correct, or is not where it's supposed to be. Okay, all right. So invalid literal for with base 10. So now for me to get the right thing, I will need to enter a number. So if I now do something like this, and then I now enter 5, for example, so I enter 5, then it should return 5, and then you can multiply or perform any other operation. So just like we did the condition of checking what the user is entering, and then printing or doing whatever we want, we can do the same by collecting the information from users and manipulating it. All right, so we can decide that if the user is enter 5, for example, we want to multiply whatever the user enters, so we can do multiplication. So we can do augmented assignment like this, and then specify so that our final answer should be 25. Do you understand what I'm doing?
Yes.
All right. So it is okay. So now when we run this code, now, let me create a variable for it, and okay, so I can do x, and then let me come here and do x, and then I'll do multiplication equal to, and then I'll specify the number like this. Okay, so this way I am now adding 5 to whatever I'm now multiplying whatever value is in x with the value 5. So whatever the user enter is multiplied by 5. So if I run this, for example, like this, and I say age, and I say 4, so and I hit enter, it's going to give me 20. Why? Because 5 times 4 is 20. All right, so this is how you can do it. You can collect users input and then print the data. All right, so I've been able to explain user input to get user input and then print out the functions. So that is working with input and output. So any question from here before I continue?
No, not.
Now, one of the things you must also know is that Python uses C-style string formatting to create a new formatted string. Okay, so and this is very, very crucial because there are times that you want a string to be returned in a formatted way. Okay, so take for example, I have a variable now. Let me do something like this. Close this, and then I do something like this. A name. I'll say name, and then I'll say equal to double quote John like this. Now I want to print this name in a more formatted way. Okay, so we do this a lot with Java, but not with Python. Okay, but Python just you say you should come as you are. I don't need to trouble you. That is what you always say. All right, so what do? I'll come here and do print. Okay, and then inside the print I will specify that I'll say hello like this, hello, and then and now format it with a percentage. Okay, I'll use the percentage, and then I'll follow by x. So the s there is a string. Okay, it's a string, and then I'll do something like this with a question mark. So what I am saying is a space. All right, so now let's continue. So if I now do I now call the percentage, and then I specify our variable name now, name. Okay, so now let's print this and then I will explain. So if we print this, for example, you can see that, see what is returning for us. This is what we've written, this is the operand that we've written, so, and this is what is returning for us. Okay, so this is another beautiful way for you to format your string. All right, so this will put spaces. All right, this will put what is it called, your this question mark, exclamation mark, right? Exclamation mark, not question mark. Okay, this will put exclamation mark, so hello, and then you specify the string and the what is it called, the formatting. Okay, now does it mean that we cannot do what we've done before? We can. Okay, so we can come and do something like this. We can do print and then do something like this. I'll just say, and we say hello, okay, like this, and then with a space, sorry, well, like hello. Okay, what's the output? Okay, so you can do something like hello, and then with a comma, and then we specify the variable name. So without using the formatting, the f string formatting, this is another way of formatting. That's basically what I want you to understand from here. Okay, so you can say name, okay, and then we can do double quote and then put exclamation mark here. Okay, like this. All right, or we can even use you don't even need to use the plus, but then okay. So now if we print, let's print the both of them and see what we have. Sorry, okay, yes, let's do something like this and let's run it. So you can see, so look at now, there's so much space, so I can decide to remove this space here, okay, or even let me remove the one here. All right, so we can use our f string, or you use this method I just showed you. So it's all about you knowing how your formatting. So this is me showing you that Python has a C style formatting for string formatting. Okay, so that you can be able to create a new formatted string, and then this is the normal one that I've showed you so far, where you can use your f string to format your output. Is this point clear? Can I continue? Hello?
Yes, you are supposed to use plus. Yes, I can. You use plus.
Yes.
Like, is it compulsory that we use plus or space?
So it's, yes, when you are using plus, is concatenation, so you are adding it. Okay, so now let me remove it and you'll see it's going to throw an error, so you must use the plus. Okay, it's going to throw an error, so invalid syntax, so you are having a syntax error, so add the plus. Okay, so and then plus here is concatenating. We'll talk about that as we move further. All right, so this is it. All right, now having explained this, let's continue to talk about making decisions with conditionals and with conditionals. All right, so now remember that we are getting into control flow already. Okay, we are getting into control flow already, and what does this mean for us? It means that we are now moving to the higher ground, to the permanent site. All right, so please, I want you to pay attention to what I'm doing. Do you have your laptop open with you, or you are just listening to me?
Yes, I have it with me. Yes, but I'll just on it now.
Okay, because at the end of the day, I'll give you assignment too.
Okay. Yes.
All right, just give me a second, please. Let me. I don't have. Where are we? Okay, just give me a sec. Let me clarify something. I want to be sure that I've been able to show you everything that I need to show you. So other persons will be joining us soon. So please, once they join the group, please kindly welcome them. What's the name? So if we now talk about okay, now let's talk about this conditioning. Before I go there, let me give you a theoretical background. And what does that mean? It means I want you to understand it from the aspect of a real life situation. Okay, so tell me something. If you are sending somebody to buy 3 things for you, and in a situation where 2 out of that 3 things are not met, what should happen? Let's say you want them to buy egg and bread and milk for you, and at the end of the day, the egg that is there is the smaller size. That's one, but they have egg, and then they don't have bread, and the milk they have is the 30 naira milk, and you are looking for a milk that you can buy for, let's say, 250 or 500 or even 1000 naira. So how do you communicate this person you are sending to be able to give you the result that you want?
Maybe I'll add more money, or I'll tell the person not to buy it.
Okay. Now, this is what makes us different from every other person out there. This is what makes a programmer more different from every other person. What am I saying? So when you send people, when you want people to do something for you, you have to be specific. You have to be specific. You have to understand what you really want them to do. You don't need to assume. Okay? Don't assume that they should know what you want. Now, assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. Okay? What this means is don't assume that they should know or understand what you send them to. And that's what the aspect we are delving into right now. Okay? And that's why I'm taking time to explain the theoretical aspect of this. So when you send somebody to buy you something, be specific. Okay? Say something like, okay, what I want you to buy me bread, egg, and what? And milk. If you see egg and you did not see bread, don't buy anything. If you see bread, egg, and milk, buy. If you did not see milk but you see bread and there is no egg, don't buy anything. You have to explicitly say it, because people will always assume that this is what you want. Okay? So it is very, very crucial for you to understand your goal, what you want people to do. Okay? And this is the mindset that we also bring into programming. All right? Where you will have to explicitly state what you want your user to do for you. Okay? So don't just assume they should know what they want. The user is stupid. Okay? The user is stupid, and the user doesn't understand what exactly you want. Okay? So the user must you must now tell the user what you really want. Okay? So if you are expecting an input of a type, or you are expecting them to enter their password, and they are using their email as their password, you must write your program to tell the user that you are not expected to use your what? Your username. Okay? I mean, you are not expected to use your email. Okay? So that way you tell the user that this is what you are expected to do, and if they do anything contrary, this is what you should tell them. All right? So we have junk programmers out there who just who just write any kind of program. No, you don't just write any kind of program, because you are speaking to different type of people who think differently from different background and with different culture and orientation. All right, so when you write your program, make it clear, make it clear, and let people understand exactly what you want them to do. Okay, so that way you are able to make them understand what they are supposed to do. All right, so now if I go to ChatGPT and I said, ChatGPT, you are stupid, what do you think it's going to tell me? You will not tell me, oh, you are not expected to insult. Insulting is not good. No, that's not what it's going to say. It tells you, I am an AI. I am meant to help you. If you have difficulty or you are facing a challenge, kindly ask me and I will provide response. That is a machine that has been programmed to respond in a specific way. So you must understand this. All right, when you write your own program, you must understand how you communicate with your program, with your code. All right, this is very crucial, and I say this so that we get the ground running when we begin to talk about control flow in Python. Please pay attention. All right, so because if you don't understand control flow in Python, you will not be able to understand how to write a good code. Okay, that is why somebody will now write a code that if the bank balance is more than 18, is more than 18 naira or 18 million, what should happen? So instead of him to say create a specified account with a tag like this, depending on the bank specification and their goal, and then you as a what is it called, a junk programmer now will now write nonsense that will be reducing 10 naira or 20 naira from his account, and you cannot trace where that 10 naira is going. Okay, so you must know how to write a good code. Okay, it's very vital. All right, so let's continue. Now that I've been able to explain that, okay, now let's now continue with conditional statement. All right, so so with the conditional statement, just like I use a real life example where you are trying to tell users to do a specific thing. Okay, so for example, I will say username, or okay, let's say I want you to write a code that tell them what you want them to buy. All right, so I'll now say I'll now do something like this: bread, I'll say true. So remember I'll say bread true. So you are buying bread, you are buying butter. So I'll now say bread, butter. I'll say true. I'll make everything true. Then I'll begin to write the condition, and we'll change bread, butter, egg like this. Okay, and then we'll say true. Okay. All right. Now, when you are writing your conditional statement, you want to perform a different action based on different condition, and that is what I've said so far. So let me not dwell there. So now we want to now begin to use our if condition to now check if our user to return something for us. So we now say if, okay, if bread, okay, and egg. Okay, so in the video you are going to learn, I'm going to send you should be able to learn about the and the or operator. Okay, the and the or operators. All the operators I've explained about 5 or 7 of them in the video. Okay, so if bread and butter or what, egg, okay, egg should return, you should print here is your item. So you can say print here is your item, here are your items. Okay, are your items, like this. Okay, like this, and then we specify them. Abi, now we can now, let's put the first clause. Okay, so I'm saying that if there is bread and there is butter, okay, and egg, let me put egg, let me not use egg and oil here yet, and there's egg. Okay, so I'm making sure this first statement, I'm making sure that the bread, butter and egg is available. Okay, so I'll now come here and then I'll run the code. Let's run the code. He said here are your items. Why? Because all of them are true. So the AND operator says that all the two operands you are comparing, whatever you are comparing, must be true. Okay, if both of them are true, it will return true. If both of them are false, it will return false. So, and one must not be false and the other must be false. So the AND operator will make sure that both operands you are comparing are true. Okay, so if butter is true and bread is false, it will return false. So if we change this to false, for example, we change this to false, okay, it will return false. All right, like this. Okay, it's not even returning anything. Why? Because there is no else clause, and because it's not meeting criteria that we've specified here. All right. Yeah.
There's no else clause.
There is no else clause, so he's not seen any other condition apart from this first condition, so he's not returning anything. So if we now come here now, if we now want to do it, we can do something like this. If bread and butter and egg, print here are your items. Okay, now let's now go put an else clause and say don't buy anything. Okay, don't buy print, and then we say don't buy anything, don't buy anything, like this. Okay, and we run the code. You say don't buy anything. Why? Because the three conditions are not met. The three conditions are not met. Now I want to now begin to check. Let's now begin to check that if, so we say elif. Okay, so I want a situation where if you cannot see bread, you cannot see butter, you cannot see egg. If there is bread and butter, we can still eat, abi. So we can say bread and butter. Sorry, I said bread. Bread and butter. So, and then here we now say or what now? Egg. So here we are now using the or operator because here we want to specify that if you did not see any of this and there is this, buy. Okay, so now if you look at our condition, bread is true, butter is false. So if there is bread and there is egg, we will eat it. If there is bread and butter, we will eat it. Okay, so now remember I'm using a scenario where you are buying butter and bread. So it doesn't, this scenario can be different depending on what your user wants or what your company wants you to build. All right, so now if we now come here and now do something like this and now do so I will now print, so I'll now print so I'll now say print, I'll format it. Okay, let's format it like this. I'll format it and then I'll say here is your bread and butter. Okay, because yes, because here is your bread and egg. Okay, here is your bread and egg because as you can see the egg will not be there, so I'll say, so I'll replace this with I'll say bread. Oh yeah, let me just leave it like this since I'm using a boolean value. So bread and what? Egg. Okay, all right, so I'll remove this and let's run it. Let's run our code and let's see what it gets printed for us. So you can see here is your bread and egg. Why? Because bread and egg is true. Now let me now change egg to false. Let me now change egg to false, for example, capital letter. okay, like this, and then let's run the code and see what condition gets printed. He said don't buy anything. Why? Because there is no butter, there is no egg. Okay, and that is what this or is looking for. The or will check that butter exists or egg exists. The AND operator will make sure that there is bread and there is butter. But in the situation where these two is not there, you should buy egg. Okay, but then the egg is now false, so it means there is no result, there is nothing to buy. So in this scenario, you will need to be very careful of what you are asking your user to do. So, and that is why I said be explicit, let it okay, I think, is it Python? What's the name of that thing again? I've forgotten the name. All right, so instead of complex, make it simple. Your code should not be complex to understand. Your code should not be too complex. Your code should be simple, easy to understand. A dummy should look at your code and read and understand. All right, so a code must not be too difficult. Okay, a junior developer should come on the team and look at the code and say, oh, this is what this code is doing. Okay, so don't write a code that is complex. Create complex situations. Okay, but simplicity makes everything easy. All right, so that is that. Then if we can continue to keep adding condition. All right, so this is how you use your else statement. And then you can use, remember we are just using one out of the different operators. So you can use any type of operator that you choose to or you want to use. Okay, and this is very vital. All right, so choose any kind of operator that you choose or you want to use. That way you will be able to know what you are doing. Is that point clear?
Yes.
All right, so now having said that, having explained if statement, the next thing I will want to talk about is the nested if statement. Okay, so the nested if statement. So Python use I've said that Python use elif keyword, okay, to chain multiple conditions. All right, so now we can now move further to talk about what nested conditions. So there are times that your condition will be nested. What does it mean, nested condition? It means you are having conditions that are inside each condition. So like this. So I'll comment this out for now, and then I'll create another variable. I'll create a new variable, and I'll call this variable x equal to 2, and then I'll say x equal to 2. Now I want to create the nested variable where I will say that if x is equal to 1, if x is equal to 1, okay, and then I want to print x. I want to print that x is what? No, let me have two variables. So x and y, and then I'll say, let's say this is equal to 5 or 4. Let's leave it as well. So I now add a condition that says that let me remove this. Okay, so I now have a condition that now check if x is equal to 1, and then I want to print, no, I now have another condition inside this if condition. So this is the first condition, and then this is the second condition. So please pay attention to what we are doing here, because this is what is going to introduce us to loop. So when I come to loop, you'll be able to understand what we are about to do now. So if x is equal to 1, and then I will now add another condition if y is equal to let's say 2. Okay, if y is equal to 2, we should say that so we can now print, and you can continue having nested if, but you must know your goal. Why are you creating nested if? Okay, so this is for demo purpose. All right, so if y is equal to 2, then I want to print Okay, I want to print that x is 1 and y is 2. So I'll do something like this. X is 1 is 1 and y is 2, like this. Okay, so and then when I run this code, okay, when I run this code, I should be able to see like this. Okay, nothing gets printed. Okay, so let's come out of this. So I can decide to have else. Let me just put else. Oh no, let me bring it outside of this. So I'll do else, and then I'll do what should I do here? So let me just print let me just put result like this. Okay, all right, the emphasis is on the nested if. Okay, now if I run this, so it's giving us result. Why? Because x is not equal to 1. So let's say if x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 5, okay, is equal to 5. So x is 1 and x is x is 2 and y is what? Is 5, like this. Okay, and then when we run the code, so now why? Because of this. So you can even decide to not to even print. You can perform an operation here. You can perform an operation here and say that you can even, let's create a variable like this and say that x times y. So it depends on the goal. All right, so x times what? Y. And then you can print inside that same loop. So inside you can print y. Okay, sorry, you can print x. Okay, like this. Oh no, so I can't use x here. I've already used it, so you can call it s, and then I'll come here and use s. All right. Okay, so and then when we run it, it's giving us 10. So whatever you want, you can do it. Okay, so there are times that you will need to have a nested if, especially if the first condition will give birth to the second condition. Okay, if the first condition will give birth to the second condition and the second condition will give birth to another condition. Okay, now there are forms you will be filling. Let me give you a real life situation where you will be filling a form. If you say your age is 18, the question you answer is different from the question you say if your age is 26. Are you with me?
Yes.
The question you also answer is also different from when you say your age is 35. So in those conditions where if age is equal to 18, then there is a separate question set for you. The same thing if you say your age is 35, there is a separate question set for you. All right, so this is how you can use the nested if statement. All right, so it all boils down to what's your goal, what do you want to achieve. If you know what you want to achieve, then you can now begin to think through about how to lay your conditions. Is this point clear? Is there anything you want me to say here?
Yes, it's clear.
Are you sure? So like I said, and this to all the students, if you have questions or anything, kindly use the question and then drop your question. I'll be able to attend to them and then answer your question. All right, okay, now let's continue. So I've been able to explain conditional, right? So and under this segment we are talking about how to make decisions with conditionals. So I've talked about if statement and elif block, and then I've also talked about the nested conditional. So now let's talk about Boolean expression and decision making logic. Boolean expression and decision making logic. How do you do that? Okay. Just a sec, please. Boolean. Okay, so a Boolean is a data type that returns what? True or false, right? So a data type that returns true or false, and when you are using a Boolean, you must know exactly what your end goal is. All right, you must know what your end goal is. Okay. Sorry, please give me a sec. Let me set this up. Okay, yeah, this is it. I think I had water here. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's continue. So now we are now going to talk about what is it? All right. So we're now going to talk about the Boolean expression and decision making logic. All right. So and I said that when you are using a Boolean, it's a truthy or falsy statement. All right. It's a truthy or falsy statement where the answer that you have is either true or false. Okay. Yeah. There you are. So Boolean expressions are used in conditional statements such as if, while, and switch. Okay. So if you have x equal to 2, okay, so I've explained that inside our operators, so please go through that. Okay, so when you have equal to, greater than, less than, so and all of that. Okay, so it is the building block of Python code. Okay, so now this is for us to understand that when I now delve into repetition and loop, okay, we'll be able to understand. Please, or I may even suggest that you go through that video before we get here, because is the part that give birth to loop. Okay, so that I won't be saying something. Yeah.
That's comparison of operators.
Yes, comparison operators, assignment operators, arithmetic operators, membership operators. What's the other one? About 7 of them that I've discussed. So I think you should go through them before we go to the repetition and loop. Okay.
I understand some of the operators, but this membership.
Yes, because we are now going to talk about lists, and I made a reference in that code. So I think you should that you should get that foundation before we delve into this aspect, because I don't want to miss I don't want you to miss out when I'm begin to say some things and then you are now going back to that video. It will really align. So if you don't mind, can you go through that video before we continue? Okay.
Okay, how do I get the video?
No, you get the link now. I should let me deploy. Let me. Sorry. Stay online, please. Let me quickly do it.